Hi guys, it's me, Kathy, Mrs. Handy Are You? Hope everybody's doing well. And we've been having our first big snowstorm here in New Hampshire, so that's kind of cool. Well, it won't be huge, but you know, it's still exciting, and it'll cover all the dead leaves and everything, so I'm happy. Anyway, this is going to be an odd video compared to my other ones, which they're always odd, right? I'm decoding Sherlock Holmes videos and a radio production, and even somewhere in here I've got Hercule Poirot. You know, it looks like Hercules, but he pronounces it, and he's a detective, he pronounces it Hercule. So anyway, I don't know how far I'll get with this. I've got like this much to go through, and now Missy's on me. So we'll just see what happens, right? I don't know. We'll sit, get down, sit, sit down. Anyway, so this is a short thing. There's a video out there, and you can find it. There's a great YouTube channel called David Von Plein, or Plein, P-L-E-I-N-S, David Von Plein's JFK channel, and that's where I got this video from. He's got everything, either audibly or video-wise, that JFK ever did on that channel. So I highly recommend looking at that. He's also got great, I think it's a white hat channel, but whatever. It's also got great old radio shows and TV shows, and I love to look at the Christmas ones, you know, things from like the late 30s, 40s, 50s, all that kind of stuff. So he's also got all that on different channels. So anyway, David Von Plein, you know how I never know how to pronounce things. Anyway, so there was a video where, well, it's not really a video, it's audio, but there's a photo. It's a cover. And John F. Kennedy is congratulating, in quotes, John Connally, who had just won the governorship of Texas. So he was calling, he was president at the time, and he was calling John Connally saying, oh, that's, you know, good job and everything. JFK didn't do much talking. John Connally did most of the talking. But something that John Kennedy said almost every chance he could, you know, as a response to what Connally was saying, he would say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I brought this up before in another video, but yeah, you know how we'll say that nowadays? Oh, my pen is all screwed up, and I can't see, everything's backwards when I look in the, anyway, nowadays people, I don't know if you've noticed it, but over the past year or so, instead of saying, oh yeah, like I know what you mean, kind of, oh yeah, that people will say, yeah, 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 yeah. And I tell you, the way that the good guys are putting things out either in TV shows or movies, and we're all picking them up. That was Misty launching. We're all picking them up, and it's becoming part of like our lingo, like our common everyday phrases. And the reason for that is because it all means something. So any of these phrases that you say all the time all mean something. So, yeah, 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 you know what I mean by that? Anyway, he said it all the time through this whole little video clip, audio clip. It equals 117, and like I always forget to tell people, in case you're new, I'm doing figuring out what words and phrases mean using simple gematria, and A equals 1, it's a biblical coding system, all the way through Z equals 26. And if you use Gematrix, GEMATRIX.org, you can just plug in a phrase or a word and you'll see many choices, and then you feel like what resonates with you or what God is telling you is appropriate to go with what you're looking at. Gosh, this stuff's driving me crazy. I'm trying to do bling today. It's like, it's too much. Anyway, that's what that is, simple gematria. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I could take this stupid thing off. I can't take it. Now Rosie's up here. Whatever. 117 equals faked own death. So that's what happened. JFK faked his own death. Okay? Yeah. You think he doesn't know gematria? You think he doesn't know what that means? No. They all know. All those people in those positions know how to code language, and they code, and that's how they talk to each other. They talk in code. And it's God's language too. And like I always say, that's not the only way God talks to people. I know that. But anyway, 117, faked own death. Another one, I'm sorry. Like, he's sorry he put us through this crud, right? Everybody was devastated. 117, DNA of Christ. Okay, the bloodline. 117, Crater Earth. You know, I'm always talking about the Goj Lamaste video series called Crater Earth. Well, that must be why. And Goj Lamaste, G-O-D, it has God in there, G-O-D. Oh, gosh, I always spell it. It's so hard to spell. G-O-D, G-E-V-L-A-M-S-T-E. Goj Lamaste has a series called Crater Earth you probably should look at, because his name matches, I think it's John Fitzgerald Kennedy, like when you do his name in gematria. I don't remember now, but anyway, it matches there somewhere. It's either John F. Kennedy or it's, yeah, whatever. It matches, and I figured that out ages ago, so I just can't think of what it is. Anyway, so that's that. That's just from yeah. Okay, so that's a lot just from yeah. Okay. Now this is from a BBC production of, let's see, it's a Sherlock Holmes story that the BBC made into a production, and it's called The Valley of Fear, and it was from BBC4 Radio. So you can only hear it. Highly recommend listening to this. I mean, it's a great one if you love mysteries. It's great. I was on the edge of my seat listening to that. So even beyond decoding, it's definitely worth listening to. Okay, The Valley of Fear, the title, equals 161. That equals true story. Okay? What you get from the decoding of this radio production that you can find on YouTube is what really happened on 11/22/63, and I've got way more. I mean, I don't know if you can see it. I got way more than I could ever show you that proves this. But yeah, it's trying to drive me crazy. I'm gonna try. Okay. True story. 161. Facial recognition. 161. Shall we play a game? Are you kidding me? Like, it wasn't real. What we thought we saw did not happen. Okay? It didn't happen. It looked like it happened, and it was a really good setup. It looked really darn real. I mean, if you asked anybody, you'd say, yeah, he was shot in the face. Or some people say he was shot from behind because of the Warren Commission, but whatever. Everybody would say he died on that day. That wasn't him and Jackie in the car, just like I said several videos ago. I wasn't sure about it. I thought that's what happened. And then some bozo personality talked me out of it. And then I kind of retracted it, you know. I am like not listening to that bozo personality anymore because I'm just not. And I'm back to my decoding instead of relying on other people. Okay? Sorry about all that from the past, but, you know, I made a mistake. Anyway, let's see. So after Are You Kidding Me, which matches the title, The Valley of Fear, Be Still and Know. Like, know from the decoding. Black operations, because that's what happened. It was like a black op to get him out of there. To get him out of there, because they kept trying to kill him over and over and over again. That was not the first time. You know, if that, you know, just think about it for a minute. Even if you thought that he died that day, 11/22/63, you know that that wasn't the first attempt. Okay? That just wasn't. So, they would have tried a lot more, you know, easier things to do. You know? He knew, Jackie knew, his people with him knew that he trusted, knew what was going on. So black operations took him out. You know, I don't mean take him out, but like made it look like he died and got him out of there. Okay. This is the key thing. And you're going to think this is off the wall, that this is the key phrase. But it is. This is the key phrase for all of this stuff. All of it. Okay. This matches the title. The Valley of Fear. It's Madame Tussauds. And that's, you know, Madame. And then Tussauds, like David, apostrophe S. Madame Tussauds. And probably most of you know what that is, but in case you don't, it's a famous wax museum. Started in Paris. For all I know, it's everywhere, like Las Vegas. I don't know. There could be Madame Tussauds all over the world by now. And it's wax figures of famous people. Okay? And they're done in wax. Okay? Madame Tussauds matches the Valley of Fear. There's a big reason why Madame Tussauds is important. Okay, this matches the 161 also, the Valley of Fear. What do you see? Whose idea was it? Woke military. Okay? Woke military. Mindless beasts. B-E-A-S-T-S. In other words, the figures, I'm going to say figures, that were in the Lincoln Limo were mindless beasts. They were not real. They looked real. They weren't. And recently, George News, I think it was actually on Veterans Day, if I remember right, 11/11. Recently, he posted a caption on an article. You know, it was just his caption. Normally, he just posts the article, the news article, but he captioned it, and he said, no, I'm going to just say it, I was going to spell it, but no shit, Sherlock. And I've been listening to all these Sherlock Holmes TV shows and radio things, and I'd just been wanting to decode this BBC4 production, and I hadn't done it, and that was the impetus to do it. Like, okay, you're supposed to be doing this stuff. Isn't that interesting? The show, this episode was set in 1889. You know, it's supposed to be the year 1889. 88 in simple gematria is Trump. And if you add 8 and 9, it equals the 17th letter. And 18 is the letter R. And we know who, that Junior is R. Okay. And it started, the setting, you know, they come out and they start telling the story. I think it was Watson. And, you know, he's telling the year, and then he says the date. He says, it's the morning, a.m., January 6th, the date of the fake invasion, or whatever you want to call it, of the Capitol building. Okay? Do you remember? And there was all this commotion, and everybody's arrested, and all that. There was an FF thing, the white hat FF thing. Anyway, on January 6th, it just happens to be, you know, right. Let's see. Dr. Watson's reading, and he's reading, I think it's a letter from the local sheriff, and he's writing to Sherlock. I'll probably not get who's reading everything correctly, but because I didn't write who was reading all that as I was taking my notes. And this is condensed notes. You know, I had almost a book written before. Anyway, Watson's reading. He says, Jack Douglas, blown off face, sound like the limo, okay? Blown off face by a sawn-off shotgun. The whole thing had been set up. It looked as if the whole thing had been set up for theatrical effect. Okay, think about what he just said. Theatrical effect. Not real. The whole thing had been set up for theatrical effect. That's the key part. If it weren't for a man with his face blown off in the middle of it. I know it's gross to talk about, but that's what it said. Then at 8:45, you know, I'm always looking at timestamps, so it takes a long time to go through these videos or whatever audios and check timestamps and see what they said at, you know, 45 is POTUS, President Trump 45. I mean, if 46 is JFK, POTUS 46. 35 is JFK, POTUS 35. I mean, 33 is for the Masons. 55 is for Clear Comms and Junior. I mean, there's so many timestamps. So you kind of have to listen. You can just write it down in like a flow, like jot down the timestamp and then just start write the phrase, you know, and all of a sudden you're going to get a whole story out of it. So at 8:45, solved it already in red stains. And then he said Gothic script. Okay, so you have red stains. Red is 27 and JFK is 27. Okay, in simple gematria. Then he mentions a Gothic script, like a movie. We're always saying this is a movie, not just what happened to him or what seemed to happen to him. All of this stuff is like a script, a movie. And our favorite Anand says that all the time. You're watching a movie, you're watching a movie. Okay? And all the way back to then, you're watching a movie on 11/22/63. Okay? It's a movie. Script. And he didn't say red blood stains. And then it was, he said red stains splashed across. So it was like, okay, he didn't even mention blood. It was stains. Like, okay. So it wasn't even real blood. And then Sherlock, Watson, you're not trying to carry on a post-mortem over there, are you? Okay. No, this is me. No post-mortem was done in Parkland Hospital after the incident in Dallas. I've seen enough videos on this from the doctors who were there to know there was no post-mortem done there, in case you didn't know. All these agents were around, and they kept all the doctors, and it's Texas law. They were supposed to have post-mortem done if anybody dies there. And they could have had the Secret Service there with them, but they wouldn't allow it. So, the doctors also said in many different videos, there were 2 caskets, in case you didn't know that. There was a fancy one, like a presidential one, because they always carry one on Air Force One in case something does happen. I mean, it's weird, but they carry everything. they carry a lot of caskets on Air Force One, actually. If you look up about Air Force One, you won't believe what's on there. It's really intense. But anyway, so there was a fancy one, and then there was a very plain one, you know. So there were two that were brought in to Parkland Hospital. You know, that's the hospital that the body was brought to. Then references were made to marks on the body. This was in the radio show. And something I've talked about quite a while ago in a video. I mean, I hadn't heard this script or anything, but from a doctor that was talking about what happened in the hospital. Jackie came in and exchanged her wedding ring for his. She also lifted his foot was sticking out. I can't remember if it was left or his right now, but his foot was sticking out. She kissed it. I think she was looking for a mark, but that's what I used to think. I don't know about the mark anymore. But she exchanged wedding rings. Now, okay, why would she exchange wedding rings? You're going to find out in this video. It's not what I thought at the time. I thought she was trying to just hide the fact that it wasn't him. You know? Well, kind of she is. But anyway, you'll find out. So in this plot, the Valley of Fear radio show, his wedding ring is missing. So this man is dead. He's on the floor. Sherlock and Watson are there trying to investigate with the sheriff who wrote him a letter, so he came the next day. His wedding ring is missing. And it was replaced by what they called a nugget ring. So there's a gold reference in there because of nuggets. So that's talking about the reset. Anyway, so that's what happened in the operating room when Jackie went in. She exchanged rings. And then, let's see, I don't know, like I said, I can't remember who said what, but I think Watson said, "We did well, very well." So well was said twice, you know, kind of quickly. And well equals 52 in simple gematria, and that equals I'm Joe, remember me, and Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr. is alive. 52 equals I'm Joe, 52 equals lived, didn't die in World War II, lived. It was faked. Everything seems to be faked. Let's see. A mark on the arm of this deceased person. They said there was a brown like a tattoo, but it wasn't really a brown triangle in a brown circle. And we know triangles are a Masonic symbol, so that's one thing. A brown triangle in a brown circle. Brown equals 72. And I did that because they said brown twice, quickly. 72 equals I am alive. Okay? Harvard, reborn. Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr. went to Harvard. Everybody thought he died in that plane crash in World War II. This is saying, I am alive, reborn, okay? I know a lot of people are having issues with this reborn thing, but that's what's happening. I'm sorry. And then Watson says, a secret society. Now remember, JFK had a whole speech that he gave at the Waldorf Astoria to the, what was it? All the press. I can't remember what the group was called. But the press were all in the room at the Waldorf in New York City. And he gave what everybody calls now his secret societies speech. So if you don't think there's such a thing as a secret society, just listen to that speech that JFK gave. And it'll be on that David Von Klein's channel, you know, and many other places. So, he says, a secret society that pursues its enemies to the death over the last 11 years. And that's part of the radio show. And then he continues, she's involved too. Blood-stained body was dreadful. And that's because Jackie knew what was going on. And she wasn't real in that car either. And the suit that was blood-stained wasn't real. It wasn't really blood. We'll get to that. I'm talking too much. And then he says, was fast turning out to be a regular general. And remember, we just found out that President Trump's real dad is General Douglas MacArthur. So I thought that was awesome that they had that in there. And then Watson says all these little phrases in a row. Deep dreams, like not real. Red sticky mess. Take my bow. Holding back information. Set the scene. All of this is like, you could put that right back in 11/22/63. Let's see. Then he says, or maybe it was Sherlock. Like I said, I keep getting Watson and Sherlock confused. This is interesting. Think about what these words might mean in another setting. Glorify, blunt, brutal, anticipation. Now, this is all from the radio show. Bitter, bones, teeth, dark. Okay, I know that's kind of odd to think about, but, and then dark outline of a man's head leaned down. He leaned his head forward, put his head down. Does that sound like on the cross? Think about what I just said. You might have to rewind it, but to me that's kind of what it sounded like. And then some of the ritual sayings from this secret society that was involved in this radio plot, they would say to each other, like the head guy, can't think what I'll get to what he was called, but anyway, the guy in the front would say, dark nights are unpleasant, and the other guys would say, a storm is approaching, like it was just a chant, you know, it was very strange. And let's see. And then, see, there was a reference to a John, and you know, we're always talking about John Jr., and one of them said, no loss, I think it was the John character that said this, no loss as he was in the same business as the others. In other words, he's talking about somebody who had died. No, this is not the guy on the floor Sherlock's talking about. We're back at talking at the secret society meeting. I mean, it's confusing, but I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, so there was no loss as he was in the same business as the others. So the way I looked at this is I always thought that Sergeant Tippit, T-I-P-P-I-T, E-T, sorry, was the one who was actually in the coffin. So he's the one who's actually at the tomb with the eternal flame at Arlington. So Sergeant Tippit was murdered right after JFK was done away with. Okay, interesting timing, but I never could really figure out why Sergeant Tippit would have been done away with at that moment. They tried to say Lee Harvey Oswald did it right after he was running away from shooting JFK, you know, and that, oh, he ran into Sergeant Tippit in a back alley or something and he killed him too, but I don't think that's what happened. And Sergeant Tippit was famous. If you look at an article online from Red Dice TV, it's a very old article, and Sergeant Tippit was well known at the Dallas police force as looking just like JFK. I mean, he wasn't identical, but he looked a lot like him, and so everybody nicknamed him Jack. Sounds like he was in on this whole thing to do stuff with, to hurt JFK. You know what I'm saying? Possibly the good guys got rid of him before he could do anything, and it was convenient because he looked just like JFK. So he ended up being the one going into the operating room at Parkland Hospital. And his wedding ring was the one that was exchanged. Just a thought, you know, but that's what I think. And Sherlock, and then they said, and Sherlock, it was an extraordinary, well executed and conceived plan. It was. That's what happened to me, and it was a well executed plan. And then Douglas says, they are used to me returning from the dead. And the wife says, Jack acted in self-defense. And she said that 3 different times. Jack acted in self-defense. In other words, he had to disappear, make it look like he was gone, just like so many other celebrities have done in the past. And I'm sure people in different government positions, because they're under threat to be killed. So they leave, and they pretend they died, you know? They have stuff set up, they pay people, and it looks like they died. So the sheriff says, justifiable homicide. And then Watson says, 3 days I didn't hear from Holmes, but on the 3rd day, now what does that sound like? There are a lot of references back and forth. Biblical nowadays, I mean, it's amazing. And then he read in the paper that the man and woman who, it's a little confusing, I won't even try to explain this, I have to listen to it. Anyway, the man and the woman, and the guy who posted bail, and the butler, they're all in on everything to try to hide that, you know, they were trying to get away from the secret society. So somebody had come after this man, who was an innocent man, and he killed him in self-defense. So that's who was really on the floor. The wedding rings were exchanged, and the guy who set the bail and the butler all knew what was going on, and so the husband and wife tried to get away from the secret society along with the bail bondsman and the butler, and they disappeared. So that's what Watson was saying about the 3 days I didn't hear from Holmes, and then on the 3rd day I read about them disappearing. Okay, that was in the newspaper. Sherlock says, we have reached the end. Truth must be got out. I must have time, he said. He said that twice in a row. That's 165. That equals prove the past equals resurrection. Okay? Watson says, those eyes failed, meaning Sherlock, those eyes failed to pierce the veil. Failed to pierce the veil. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I decode that. Those eyes failed to pierce the veil. This particular case was over. Okay. Failed to pierce the veil equals 209. That equals kill God not happening. That's the end of the Valley of Fear radio show, which you could listen to on YouTube. Okay. I think we should end it right there. I'm just going to make this part 2, or I don't know, whatever. You guys can't watch hours of this on end. So, anyway, love you guys, and I'll be back. Bye.